is an absolutely lovely day outside. The temperature is just perfect and you can hear all the crickets. It's very calm. I can even hear the river down in the valley. Oh, so nice. I'm so excited to take you guys through the garden today because it's still looking very lush, even though things are starting to change and transition into all of the fall crops. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel and I do a garden tour like this every single Wednesday. And the point is, especially for you new gardeners, to be able to see like a real garden that's not just the highlight reel, that is the problems and the issues and my thought process on how I'm fixing those, as well as kind of geeking out over all the cool stuff happening in the garden that, when I started this channel, I found that my friends who weren't into gardening didn't really care about, and then I found my community online to kind of share those really cool things with. So hopefully if you are a new gardener, you'll get a lot from this, and I hope that you will subscribe and join me in the future. So if we start right here on the right edge of the garden, this is the only part in sunlight at this time of day. We have lemongrass here, a couple of ginger plants that are honestly getting really bushy. Like this is peeking out of the weeds pretty prominently, and then this one is really pushed up with all of the zinnias and the lemongrass right here, but it's still looking really lush and gorgeous. You can see the difference in the leaves here. This one is the ginger and this one is the lemongrass, and they're both doing absolutely fine, even though this zinnia has decided to give up on being upright and fall on top of them. And honestly, this whole collection of plants right here, especially with the purple basil in the back, it looks really nice. It's a very cute aesthetic that just kind of accidentally happened because I wasn't super concerned about keeping everything really perfect, Look at these flowers. That is so beautiful. Now along this trellis, during the summer I have tomatoes, but they are all finally taken out. And looking through this, you'll also notice that this area is looking more empty. That's because all of the tomatillos have gotten taken out as well. The last thing remaining on this trellis is the beans. These are a pole bean called blue cocoa. And at this time, I'm just letting them all go to seed and actually make their beans inside their pods instead of picking them for fresh eating. Also nestled in here between marigolds and basil that I'm still picking from, we have some broccolis. This one is a Waltham broccoli. I started it indoors many weeks ago. I think it's like 3 months now, something like that. It's been a while, and it's been in the ground for something like 3-ish weeks now. And these are doing really well, at least the ones that survived. There should have been one here. We've got one here and a couple more down here. And I'm pretty happy with this. I've had trouble growing big brassicas in the past, and I think it's just because I didn't start them indoors soon enough. So my plants weren't getting big enough before it started getting cold outside and before the light really started fading. The timing that I've chosen this year feels like I might have finally gotten it right because the weather is cooling down pretty quickly. Like we had a hot week right after I put them in the ground, and I was like, ooh, is this going to be too early? Is this going to be too hot for them? And then immediately the weather started getting consistently cooler. Right now it is only like 70 degrees outside. Very mild, very nice. And I think that this is still like warm enough to where the plants are growing really vigorously, and they're getting a lot of sunlight during the day. So by the time that we are starting to get a frost in like the beginning of November-ish here for South Carolina, they will be just about ready to produce, which is exactly what you want for a lot of your big brassicas. I was remembering recently that a lot of people call brassicas cruciferous vegetables. I'm pretty sure those are interchangeable terms as far as what people use them to refer to. So by brassica, I mean anything in the family brassica. That's your broccoli, cauliflower, radishes, kales, all these things that are descended from mustard. Oh, I just caught sight of this little guy. Not doing super well. Somebody ate all of you. It's just still trying making that new little leaf. Definitely going to be behind if it does survive. Alright, coming back out to the second row, I can pretty much walk through here now. I can't walk quite all the way down, but I have much more of a pathway here than I did before. And something that I've done is along under the trellis, not quite under it, but like next to it, I've started planting fava beans. Those should be coming up very soon. Actually, oh no, that's not a sprout. That's just a little bit of something that fell. They should be coming up very soon. And then in this area, I have planted rutabagas. I have a few that I started indoors, and they got really leggy because they didn't get enough light. So I'm not really sure if they're going to be super strong seedlings, but I planted a lot of seeds here and here. You can see that one of the cats has dug a hole in the middle of the area where I planted. That's very not ideal. We'll see if stuff still comes up there. And then over here you can see the rain has kind of washed the mulch into this area that I cleared to plant seeds. So that's also going to be quite a bit harder on the seedlings coming up. But at this point, if I move it around too much, I'm probably going to disturb seeds that are like germinating right beneath the soil. So I'm just going to leave that be and hope for the best. As you can see in this area where the tomatillos used to be, like right in here, I've left a lot of stuff. Any zinnias that are still doing good got left. There's a couple of pepper plants over there, and this entire section is eggplants with a few peppers mixed in. You can see these peppers kind of just like falling over themselves because they are so heavy and they did not have any support. These eggplants have been healthy enough looking all year, but like definitely not getting to the size that I've seen eggplants get to in the past. I mentioned last week that I think that this is variety dependent. I'm growing almost all new varieties than I did before, and these are Japanese varieties, which may or may not be super well suited for the hot, humid southern summers. I walked around to the other side to show you guys kind of more of this, and what do I find but the perpetrator herself sitting at the scene of the crime. Hello, ma'am. Are you the reason that there are holes in my garden? So past all the eggplant and peppers falling over, I do have quite a bit of corn here. This is a popcorn variety. So while it looks like they're getting close to done, if they were sweet corn, the plan is to try and let these dry out outside as much as possible. I see quite a few, what are they called? Cobs of corn out here. So I'm pretty excited to see how that really goes. I just walked straight through one of the larger spider webs in my garden like an idiot. It is in the same spot it has been for like 2 or 3 weeks now. And I checked. I don't think I have any spiders in my hair. But if y'all see any later, that's why. Behind the corn, we have some more brassicas and also potatoes, because I forgot that I planted potatoes here before I planted all these brassicas. Oh, and another gift from the kitties. That's not ideal. So yeah, these are looking overall really good. These are all Brussels sprouts, I think, except for maybe 1 or 2. These rounder leaves is kind of how I tell that it's a Brussels sprout instead of a broccoli. And they're looking great. Even this one that's surrounded by potatoes looks pretty good so far. So if we move on to the third row, this is the arch row. And my noodle bean trellis is looking really gorgeous. I'm actually slowing down on picking these as well, because it's about time to let the plant go to seed, make me some seed stock for next year, and also everything that's not seed stock will just be dried beans for winter chili, which is going to be really exciting this year because I'm actually making my own chili spice blend, and I started this last year. I found a recipe for one that I thought would be really tasty, and I was so inspired by it that I went and bought the seeds that I would need to grow the peppers that I would need in order to make this spice blend. So this has been like a year in the making, and I'm hoping that I can make this chili entirely from garden grown things, which would be really, really cool. And look, we've still got little cucumbers coming on this plant. I can barely see any leaves on it, but apparently it's still getting enough energy to make some more seeds. So that's really cool. And they don't even look like typical end of summer cucumbers. I've seen a lot of varieties that will just start producing kind of shriveled looking cucumbers, and these look fairly alright. This second trellis here, also looking lovely. The blue butterfly peas are going crazy. There's so many flowers on them now. And I have been picking some, but I've been picking less because, again, it is time to let the plant actually go to seed. This is what one of the seed pods feels like. Sorry, I'm jerking around. It almost feels like there's something crawling up my back. Hold on. I think we're all good. But anyways, yeah, I've been letting it go to seed because I am going to need a lot of seeds for next year. The germination rate on the blue butterfly pea is actually really low, and that's kind of like a known thing about it, which I did not know when I was first planting it, and now I do. So I will plant plenty of seeds this next year and hopefully get some to get to be this pretty before I did this year, because this year I really started them like at a normal time and they took forever to really get going. I mean, now they're like gorgeous and lush, but they were not this way until very recently. Also, a quick look at the other side, which is Armenian long cucumbers. I picked my first one of these and it was absolutely lovely, and I see many more babies coming on, so that is super exciting. These get to be pretty big for cucumbers, and it looks like I'm going to have a lot all at once, so this is probably going to be a pickling operation. That is, if the plant survives. You can see all these nice new leaves here, but a lot of these other leaves have powdery mildew on them. And because it's so late in the season, like stuff like this is to be expected. It's not like feasible to completely avoid things like this on your cucumbers and squash. So right now we're just going to let the plant kind of do its thing and hope for the best. And then the hot pepper patch here. We've got a few ripe ones coming in. It's starting to speed up. You can see a few red ones down there. But a lot of the plants have still only made like their first 1 or 2 ripe peppers, and you can see all of these unripe peppers still sitting around on the plants. So that's going to be a big harvest coming up soon in the next couple of weeks. And this area right here is more rutabagas, because I'm trying really hard to at least get a few this year. Looks like this is the first fish pepper starting to turn. You can see that little bit of orange on it. These are stripy peppers, which goes really well with the beautiful variegated foliage on these. I think I do have a couple of these marked as been protected for seed saving, so hopefully I will get to grow this again next year. Over here I'm getting pretty excited about the peppers on this plant starting to turn. See that cute little orange globe in there? This is an entirely brand new type of pepper for me, but I'm going to try a couple different things with it. I'm going to dry some of it and use it as a powder. I'm also going to try and prepare it the same way that I did the peppadew peppers last year, and kind of compare how this is versus those, because this is such a cute plant. The way all the little peppers stick up, and when they're ripening, it's going to look like a Christmas tree. Same thing with the Tabasco. You can see all these little fruits are getting ready to turn. The Tabasco and this other one that I can never pronounce that I just showed you are the same, I can never remember if it's like genus or species. Most peppers are Capsicum annum, and these are Capsicum fructans. I can see my spider is back on her web, so that means she is not on me. Her and her small male partner there are both officially not in my hair. Alright, we've got one more row to look at here, starting from the back. The blueberry that I planted out here, looking pretty good. I mean, I know it looks sad compared to other blueberries, but it looks so much better than it did. We've also got sweet potato, some more brassicas here. This one I think is a cauliflower, and the rest of these are Brussels sprouts. The ones over here are a little bit smaller. I'm not entirely sure why. My guess is it's just the shade and the placement of them. But luckily I planted a lot more Brussels sprouts than I actually need. Like, I think if every plant I planted produced really well, I would be absolutely swimming in Brussels sprouts. And I planted a lot because I know that this sometimes happens where the production just isn't what you want. So I like kind of overcompensate to get what I want. And then if I have extra, I can always give it away. Sweet pepper plants over here looking pretty darn healthy. The green on these is just really nice. Plus, they're still trying to make peppers. I'm not sure how much longer they're gonna have. I mean, we do have still a month before the frost, but it is getting cooler out here, and peppers like the heat. So anything that's currently on it, I think will easily ripen. But, you know, just these flowers that are just now setting fruit, I'm not so sure about. Might just have a lot of smaller green peppers from these plants. And then down the way from those peppers, we have more sweet potato vines, some cosmos, some of these little strawberry popcorns that are making like the world's teeniest little cobs. Oh, Kata. Oh, sorry. Kata's always trying to walk right up to me when I'm filming. And sometimes she's a little menace. So down here by the corn, in between the brassicas, we do have a few lettuce seedlings that I put in. One right there, one right here. They've been getting some rain, and I put them in between the brassicas because I think I will keep them pretty small, and these plants are going to get kind of big. So these will do well to like kind of fluff up the tiny spaces in between these plants, and hopefully keep this area kind of fully covered. The more I do this gardening thing, the more I'm noticing that choking out weeds via other plants, just already kind of owning that space, works really well. And so having all these empty spaces, especially like the walkways, and then when I tear stuff out, that's where all the bunches of weeds pop up the most. And so I'm trying to kind of crowd my plants actually a little bit more than I normally would see like the advice for, to see if I can just crowd out the weeds and potentially increase my yields in the meantime, even if it's not going to be as pretty or orderly as some people would like. So far, the only rutabaga in my garden is this one that grew up out of the pathway. Watch your butt, Kata. If this one can survive in the pathway, hey! Why are you being like that? I think Kata is very much a cat that just like doesn't know her own strength. Like, she can be very playful, and she doesn't realize how sharp she is. So sometimes she claws me, and you know, it doesn't feel vicious. It just feels like she's trying to get my attention in the way that she knows how. But as I was saying, if this thing can come up in the pathway and look this good, I'm hoping that the stuff that I've intentionally planted and taken care of will also do at least this good. Alright, let's go through the raised beds real quick. As I say, not a lot of change here, at least compared to the annual garden. Things grow a lot slower in these beds, but a lot of things are looking really good. I'm pretty excited to keep pulling from these and finally start processing herbs and drying them for use over the winter and into the beginning of next summer. And I'm really happy with how this perennial bed is turning out overall. Like, there's definitely a couple of things that haven't gone as well, such as like half of the lavender dying off, but the way that the spacing is working out and how the plants are kind of growing around each other, I'm really happy with it. I think there's definitely room to put in some more, like something here, and then this is usually like cilantro here, so that's an annual space that actually, you know, it's probably about time to plant some more cilantro since it's a cool weather crop. Oh, there she is again. She heard the crunch of the straw and wanted to play. And overall, you know, I could be happier with the way this is turning out, but there's definitely things in here that I am happy about. Like the parsley looks great. Chamomile, this is my first year getting like a significant harvest of chamomile flowers, so that's been really good. And I think by next year the chives are going to be pretty prolific. Now in this upper section, very excitingly, we have first true leaves coming on these carrots. So that's really exciting. It looks like there's actually a fair bit of carrot in here. And whatever this variety was that I planted here is germinating a lot stronger than this middle variety, where there's only just a few. And this variety here, I would say, is doing second best. I did not write down which is which, but they are all different colors, so it will be clear once I get roots from them which is which. There she is playing with some grasshopper probably. So yeah, this, I'm very proud of this. I really struggled to get carrots to germinate, and it looks like we are doing a good job so far. Down here we've got the Greek oregano, and I keep looking at it and I'm really considering using this as like maybe a border plant and ground cover to help keep out the grass, because the grass here, we have Bermuda grass and crabgrass, and they both vine out and take over. Bermuda grass is worse than the crabgrass, and I'm hoping I can like maybe choke it out with a really dense ground cover like this, and it would smell good every time you walk on it. Over here at the berry patch, you can see I've done some more weeding in here. Could do a little bit better, but part of what I'm talking about with the ground cover is the strawberry area. Is you can definitely still see, yeah, there's grass coming up in between it, but it's sparse compared to like what the lawn is and what it was over here where there was not that many strawberries. And so I'm thinking this is doing its job. It's doing a really good job. And yeah, it's gonna get a little grassy, but I don't think the grass is going to be able to outcompete the strawberries, especially next year. I think they're really gonna pop off next year. Those of you who've been with me for a while know that this entire strawberry patch up in this corner started from a single plant right here in the front corner. And it has spread this much in just the last couple of years. It is a massive amount of strawberries, and I only had to buy the one plant. So it took some time, but I saved a lot of money, and now I can take cuttings from this and get unlimited strawberry plants. It is definitely time to come through here and start pruning out some of the dead stuff, start pruning out some of the canes that are done fruiting so that this area is a little less crowded and sad looking, and probably come through, do a little bit more weeding in here, because now that the leaves are dying back on these, you can see the grass is actually coming up here. So I'll probably do some more mulch in the areas where there aren't strawberries, and just hope that the strawberries make their way up here this year so that I don't have to keep applying mulch every year, because it's kind of a pain, especially getting it around everything. In some places these plants look like they're dying, and in other places they're just still producing so much fruit. I think we are like technically in the fall harvest at this point. But yeah, these raspberries have done a really good job for me. Alright guys, well that is all I have for you today. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I just want to remind you that if you want to support me and also watch these videos ad-free, I do have a Patreon where I post all of these videos without ads. Any contribution gets you access to those videos, and I also usually post early on there as well. So if you'd like to see the garden tour a day early, check out my Patreon. It's always linked below. And for those of you who are new, I really hope that you stick around and come watch the garden tour again next Wednesday. But until then, happy gardening!